From beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, it is the Neglected News Report. I'm your co-host, Scott Mitchell, along with my brother, Kevin.
Happy Saturday.
Yeah, it is Saturday, isn't it? Less than 2 days left before I have to go back to work. I've been off all week. And
whenever Van Halen comes to town, he has to take a week off.
No, I just felt like taking a week off, and I decided to take October because I have 3 paychecks, had a little extra cash, so if I want to do something I could have. So that's one of the reasons, and I had intended to do a lot more than I did, but...
looking at that front lawn, it looks like it needs a little mowing.
I'm doing it tomorrow. Trust me. It's getting done tomorrow. Yeah, I do need to mow the lawn. Yeah, but, no, I had a lot of things that I wanted to do, but I just haven't felt good. The allergies have been just killing me, especially the last 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, we also have the change of seasons that are coming. All of a sudden, a couple days ago, it was 106 degrees, and then now it's going, I guess the next couple days are going to be in the 80s, right?
Yeah, it's been getting cool at night, too. I mean, evidence of that is when I wake up, it's the time of year I hate. It's like when spring is coming in and fall is coming in, the temperatures go weird, and my AC doesn't turn on as often.
I love that sound.
And, yeah. What, the AC?
The lack of AC turning on.
Well, no. Yeah,
it means my bill is going to be cheaper.
Well, I don't understand that. But what I'm saying is there's something about 75 in the house with the AC on and 75 with it off, or 78 or 80, whatever. With the AC on, it just seems cooler.
I keep mine at 80.
Yeah, I keep mine at 75
I'm a
to 78.
cheapskate.
Yeah, I keep mine at 75 to 78.
Unless I have guests over, then I'll turn it down for their sake.
Yeah, but it'll be another month probably where I can do without it. Probably. Anyway, boy, it was an interesting week, folks, wasn't it?
Yeah, man, it's just more thing. Well, there's nothing new under the sun. Let's put it that way. Yeah, we had, unfortunately, another mass shooting at a school, of course.
Umpqua Community College in Oregon.
And it's each one of these things plays out the same way. I'm not talking about the shoot. Well, actually, the shootings, yes. There's always a shooter that chooses a school, gun-free zone, which includes military bases, by the way.
Yeah.
Asked Major Hassan
centers,
how easy it was to murder 15 people.
Coffee shops, house shopping centers, all those areas.
Wherever they're bragging about a gun-free zone, that's where the killers are going to go. And it has a lot more impact when there's schools because of the children. And I get that. And please don't think that what I'm going to say today is anyway being irreverent to the people that were murdered, because I'm not. But it had its desired effect for Obama.
Mm-hmm. He didn't waste any time.
No, he was wagging that finger at America, and and he was at the United Nations, I guess, right? When he got the word, and he was telling all of the dignitaries how embarrassed he was of his country. He
doesn't waste an opportunity to apologize for the U.S.
Well, it's not the U.S. It's a few nut jobs, and of course, he comes out and he. Basically, no, he didn't basically. He said that there are fixes for our problem, and all we need to do to look is look to Australia and look to Australia and look to Great Britain. In case some of you don't know, there was in 1999 in Australia there was a mass murder. Where was it? It was somewhere in Australia. I want to say it was by a wharf or something.
Wasn't it in Melbourne?
Yeah, 35 people were killed and 25 were injured. And right after the mass murder, the Prime Minister called for the confiscation of guns through a gun buyback program, and the Australian people did it without any problem, as did Great Britain in 1997. Very few people had handguns in Great Britain anyway, so that was
even the cops didn't for the longest time.
So, of course, Obama points to that, forgetting what the real reason for our Second Amendment. Well, let's go back. I want to talk about the real questions that should be asked. that never do get asked. It's always just used as a springboard for taking away, our gun rights. But the real question ought to be this: if you consider America, even before the revolution, we've had guns. That we were hunters. We were outdoors people. I mean, outdoorsmen. That's what we did. And so our history is nothing but firearms. That being said, why weren't there mass murders back then? When did we start seeing them on a big scale? Was it Columbine? Was it Columbine?
Which was in late 90s?
I knew everyone. When Scott and I were kids, they had the guy at the University of Texas up in the bell tower. Clock tower. What was his name? I don't remember. He was picking people off. Yep. Every once in a while, a stray wacko goes on the loose and kills people. But we didn't start having these mass shootings at schools like we do now. And my question is, okay, why? We've always had the guns. The guns have always been there, but why wasn't there mass shootings up until about 20 years ago? What's changed? Those are the questions that need to be asked, because the guns are a constant. They've been, like I said, we've had them. We've always had them, but we haven't had nuts running around killing people.
Right.
Why is that? And those are the questions that never get asked by the mainstream media, and especially Obama, because Obama's really not interested in that. Obama doesn't care about the why.
What's changed in America that causes to happen more
that's exactly right. And it causes people to have conspiracy theories that talk about false flags. Your Alex Joneses of the world will look to this event and say, was this a false flag? And what a false flag is did the government go in there and induce some kid that was disturbed to begin with to go and kill people so they could use it as a means to take away your Second Amendment right? I'm not saying that, but it begs a lot of people out there become conspiratorial because they're so used to the government anymore trying to take Second Amendment rights away.
Oklahoma City bombing was before Columbine. That was one, but guess what? Didn't use a gun though.
No, he used fertilizer.
Yeah,
truck full of fertilizer. 240 people,
something like that. Yeah.
So I always ask the why. I get Obama and what's her name, Feinstein, and all the gun grabbers. I know what their deal is. A disarmed America is one that's easier to control, and that's what they're all control freaks. So I get them, but I'm really curious myself the why. What's going on here? And the left. I was reading the Huffington Post today, and they had written this article. I'm going to give you my opinion, but they're right. They wrote this article refuting what I'm about to tell you, and there's no refutation. There's no refuting it because it is what it is. The vast majority of these shooters over the last 20 years were hopped up on some sort of psychotropic drug. Mm-hmm. They were from the Dylan. What was his name?
Dylan Klebold and. Their names I got their names right here. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold.
They're all weaned on Ritalin as young boys, and then they work their way up the scale of the psychotropics. I can't even tell you the names of them anymore. But
okay, here's something on the two kids from Columbine. In one of the scheduled meetings with a psychiatrist, Eric Harris complained of depression, anger, and possessing suicidal thoughts. As a result, he was prescribed the antidepressant Zoloft. He complained of feeling restless and having trouble concentrating. In April, his doctor switched him to Luvox, a similar antidepressant drug. So he was on antidepressants.
Yeah. I've got a 6-page report here from WorldNet Daily that breaks every one of all these shooters down from 20 years ago forward, and it tells you exactly what drugs they were on. You add to that, okay, now I know this sounds benign and it sounds reactionary, but violent video games have a role in all of this. You get a guy hopped up on Zoloft and so forth who's probably sitting playing these games where the blood splatters all over the place. Some of these guys do it days at a time without going to sleep. Okay, so what happens is, I don't know if any of you know this, but some of these games have been actually developed by our intelligence services. Let's say, and one of the purposes is, okay, humans naturally don't want to kill. It's difficult to make them kill. It's to go out and pull a trigger. The average human who has empathy and is a normal, adjusted human being. But they've done studies that show when you start, when a kid starts watching these violent video games hours at a time every day, their inhibitions about killing become less and less and less. So you add these violent images in their heads with psychotropic drugs. What do you got? Whether you can refute that or not, it doesn't matter. At least I'm attempting to explain what's going on here. Obama's not attempting. He's got an agenda, and his agenda is to take away your Second Amendment rights because he has a bigger agenda.
His agenda is control, and that's one
He's a communist.
One element of it.
He's a communist, and you can't have communism with an armed populace. Can't do it. You have to be able to round them up, put them in concentration camps, put a bullet in their head if need be. Mao even said that at the barrel of a gun. What was his saying? Control. I have.
Who was it now that said it?
Mao Zedong.
No, I don't remember now.
Well, yeah, it's right here. I shall give you political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. Mao Zedong. So they all knew that, and of course that's what they do. They disarm. So I'm going to get to that. So my theory is, at least I have one, that some of these and also a lot of these kids come from broken families, and I'm not attacking single moms, but let's just say that their lives are full of dysfunction, drugs, and horrific images that they put in front of their faces all day long. And they tend to be loners, and they also get a sense of notoriety from all this too. So you take a person with who's a loner, a geek, a nerd, who's been probably picked on his whole life, and they get notoriety.
That's one of the things that they're theorizing about this guy in the Oregon shooting the other day. Yeah, they're theorizing that he did based on stuff they read on his Facebook page.
Now, if you were a cop, this is called an MO. This would be really easy if you were really trying to attempt to figure out, who was, a serial killer or something. All this stuff is what makes, what cops look at. They put all this stuff together and say, hey, there's a pattern here. We can figure this out. But I don't think there's any attempt to figure it out.
No. Because
it's all a means to an end, and that end is the abolishment of your Second Amendment rights. And it always has this logical chain of events that happens after all of these shootings, and it's almost like it's like a loop. We see the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
But for those of you who are so anxious to get rid of your Second Amendment rights because you think you'll live in a kinder, gentler world, think again. Because there's a term out there. It's called democide. What democide is, it's defined as it's according to Professor R.J. Rummel of the University of Hawaii. He's an expert on democide. Democide is a murder of any person or people by a government, including genocide, politicide, and mass murder. It doesn't include soldiers killed in battle. And he estimates that in the 20th century alone, that and this is really low because I've heard it's higher than this. He said 62 million people were murdered by their own government in the 20th century. I've heard it as high. I've heard that Mao himself killed 60 million of his own people. That number, I believe, is really low. So the fact that 15 people were murdered the other day is a tragedy. You won't get me to say anything less. However, unfortunately, those things are, I know this sounds callous, are going to happen, but the alternative is far worse. Every one of these countries, okay, you have the Soviet Union. I was wrong. 54 million people were murdered by the communists from 1917 to 1987. China, during the Chinese Revolution, 40 million people were murdered. Nazi Germany, they estimate 31 million people. So I'm not even going to get into Southeast Asia. I think there was 4 million there. So the bottom line is, there's, let's just say 100 million people. Now that is a tragedy. And when all these governments go, the first thing they do, these totalitarian governments, they're almost always communist or fascist. The first thing is they disarm the masses, because you can't be a totalitarian and control people that can kill you.
Then they control the press, or actually they probably control the press first,
and healthcare as well. That's another thing.
Those are three things. What's going on with that?
And as a matter of fact, Ronald Reagan he did a speech in the late 50s or the early 60s talking about how the taking over of the healthcare system is the first step toward that any communist or socialist or fascist regime does to control the people, other than disarming them. So anyway, this is predictable. Obama, you're going to hear more over the next few days about, how we're the only barbaric nation in the world, where this stuff happens, and he's still calling the Fort Hood shooting the workplace violence, even though he was. Oh, that's another thing. Hassan was yelling Allah Akbar while he was killing everybody. And also another thing a lot of people weren't aware of during this shooting in Oregon a couple days ago, a lot of the reporting has said that the victims were killed because of their religion. Now,
eyewitnesses have said that. I've seen them
and now when you look at that, you go, okay, they were. No, they were killed because they were Christian. They were all Christians. He shot in the head. Anybody who said otherwise was shot in the leg, the knee, or whatever. So he targeted Christians, but you're not going to hear that. Now, had he asked if there's any Muslim, if it had been reversed and they were Muslims and he shot them because they were Muslims, that would have been the lead story. There's no doubt in my mind, because we live in this weird, convoluted, upside-down world where black is white and white is black and up is down and down is up and nothing makes sense. So what do you got to say about that, Scott?
No, I agree with you totally. I mean, and before you start saying, well, where's your proof that they were after they were Christians? Witnesses that were there, people who were shot. I mean, one of the accounts, early accounts, was a girl was in the science building, which was next door to where all this started out, and she said they heard the noises. That wasn't in the science building; it was next to the science building, and they thought that some kids in the science building were just playing around, creating explosives or firecrackers or something. One of them, her roommate, went and checked. When she got there, she was shot. She barely made it back, and she collapsed shortly after she got back. I don't know if she was one of the survivors or not, but I mean, it just.
Well, he said, prior to shooting the Christians, he said, well, in another second, you're going to meet your God.
Yep. And on his Facebook page, he was a follower of the Irish Republican Army. He was against organized religion. He was
he had Nazi memorabilia. Not what did he have? SS officers hat he had or something.
He was a boot camp dropout.
Yeah, folks. Whenever, be wary of people who hold the Nazis up, as paragons of I don't know, of whatever, virtue, bravery, whatever.
Paragons of good stuff.
Nazis were scum. And
Yep.
there are still Nazis that walk this earth, by the way. Some of them in Ukraine,
Yep.
by the way, which I don't know if we have time to talk about later today, but
We might.
the powers that
Should.
the powers that are fighting the Russians, they're Nazis. They're Nazis. I mean, they're leftovers from World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, they are.
So anyway, that's that whole thing's predictable. I would think that Obama's going to amp up because he's got another year to take your guns away. So I think he's probably going to amp it up and probably, I don't know if he's going to use any executive authority, but he's going to have a hard time.
He's going to use it to get that gun treaty with the UN ratified somehow.
Here's the difference between us and Australia and us and England and us and other nations is we have a spirit of independence in this country. We have we still have that I don't know, that cocky, that swagger. There's still that swagger to us. Not to mention we have over 300 million guns. That's enough gun. That's one gun for every man, woman, and child. So it's not going to be that easy. I mean, there'll be some that'll, they'll give them up. But all you got to do is look at Bundy Ranch. Now, that Bundy, think what you will of him. I could care less. That Bundy Ranch out in Nevada, where the government came in and was going to kick him off his land, and then all of a sudden, look who starts showing up. Mm-hmm. Everyday Americans, and guess what? They got guns. See, a fascist regime or a tyrannical regime would have just gone in there and had their way, but see, you can't have your way like that in the United States.
Think of this, though. The government's probably got bigger and better guns than most people do, but yet they backed off as soon as regular Americans showed up. Because why? Because they didn't want to get any one of their guys hurt.
Of course, you're still going to have to clear the field. Even if you go in with modern weapons and destroy a whole city or whatever, you still got to come in and clean up. And there's, especially in a Mad Max scenario, there's going to be people that aren't going to, who've got nothing to lose.
Right.
And furthermore, the American people are getting closer and closer to that mentality right now. In case you haven't heard, the labor statistics came out yesterday, and 94.6 million people are out of the labor force. Well, do the math, folks. There's only 320 million people here in the country, yet we're told that the unemployment rate's 5.1%. Talking about people who got nothing to lose. What we mean by out of the labor force, that's worse than unemployed. That means they've given up.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting their check for now. They're getting their unemployment check, probably Social Security, food stamps, you name it. They're getting that. What's going to happen when, I don't know, one day government just says, hey, guess what, man? The dollar
tap is turned off.
Dollar just crashed, and you're SOL, and you're out on your own. That's when people have nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Atlanta Federal Reserve said that these people that are out of the workforce just don't want a job.
Yeah, right.
Well, maybe if you didn't make it so damn easy for them not to have a job, they'd want one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how long did they expand unemployment to now? 5 years?
Something like that. I mean, and it varies from state to state, too. Unemployment here in Arizona, the unemployment you would get weekly is so low, you want a job. It's not a lot of money. It's like $250 a week. That's it. But there are other states where it's higher. I spoke to someone in Michigan whose husband was on unemployment for about a year, and he found some jobs that didn't pay more than he got from unemployment. He finally did find one. But for the longest time, he turned down a lot of jobs because he got more from unemployment.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about what $20 an hour is. That's $800 before taxes per week. That's $3,200 a month before taxes. works out to be between
$40,000 before taxes.
$40,000 before taxes.
Yeah.
That's $20 an hour. Remember when that used to be really good money?
Yeah.
Try feeding a family of 4 on that.
You can't.
No, not that. And own a house. You can't own a house at that. You can't own a house with making that much money.
Nope.
So anyway, when you got a bunch of people like that who got nothing to lose, and then you got a government that's trying to disarm them, man, that's not a good combination.
Nope.
So that's why you got all these conspiracy buffs out there talking about FEMA camps and Jade Helm, all this stuff, because there's a confluence of stuff that that's sort of working its way down the system right now as the economy deteriorates more and more. And I know the mainstream media is not telling you that, but just look at the numbers. Don't listen to what they say. Look at real data.
Well, what is it that about 2 weeks ago, the NSA story, where they were told to whatever information they tell the president, make sure it's sugar-coated. In other words, not the truth, or was fudging on the truth, because you had to keep the narrative going. You had to keep the narrative the president wants going.
All Obama does, and a lot of the hacks out there do, they point to the stock market. Oh, look at this. Well, the stock market's gone down 2,500 points in the last month or so. Mm-hmm. Okay. And even before that, the stock market has been artificially propped up by the Fed. All that QE that they did, quantitative easing, was zero interest money. With zero interest money was pumped back into the stock market. I mean, why would anybody use their own money when you can get free money?
Mm-hmm. I had a laugh today, though. What was it? They were on one of the Fox financial shows. They're talking about how Obama doesn't want the government to shut down with the budget and everything, because it would ruin the full faith and credit of the United States. Folks, what does it say in your money? It's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. Seeing the connection there? It's not backed by anything substantial.
Oh, that's 1971 it was no longer backed by anything.
By the way, thank you, Richard Nixon, who, by the way, was a Republican.
Yeah, Dick Nixon.
Yep. Yeah, whatever. He was named actually.
Here's another example of how we're dealing with a fake economy. Two things. On Black Monday in August so over a month ago.
This past August.
We woke up on a Monday morning and the stock market plunged 1,100 points. Then all of a sudden, miraculously, it started going back up.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the day, I think we were only down
300 some.
You think that's because of the American people just said, no, we can't let this happen. We're gonna no. That was the Fed. That was a plunge protection team that went in there, pumped a bunch of fake money and bought they call it panic buying. They panic bought a bunch of stocks, and then probably ended up selling them back within the next couple of days.
The stock market works on emotion more than anything else. I mean, what is the first thing that they teach you in sales? They teach you that the transaction is an emotion-based transaction. You got the good. You just got to turn the person you're pitching to, their emotions around to buying the product. I mean, the stock market, a bee could fart the wrong way in Africa, and the stock market will drop. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's not too far off the mark.
Again, I can't think of this guy's name. That was Sigmund Freud's nephew, who turned advertising into. He understood the human psyche so well that he could sell anything to the American people. Why can't I think
he was American?
It's at the tip of my tongue.
Edward Bernays.
Edward Bernays.
Yeah.
He got women smoking. He even got us eating bacon and eggs for breakfast.
I was about to say the same thing. Before that, for breakfast they just had like a regular meal.
Yeah, it's just so it doesn't take much to manipulate the psyche, especially when it comes to the stock market. But
yeah, no kidding.
Here's something. This is really interesting, and this is another example of the economy being fake. The big debate of last month was whether or not the Fed, Yellen was going to, well, the Federal Open Market Committee was going to raise interest rates, and they were only talking about 25 basis points, which is 1/4%, and they decided not to for fear that it could have dire consequences for the economy. Well, that begs the question. Exactly what kind of economy do we have if we can't bear 1/4 point, 25 basis points increase in interest rates? We used to, back when I was a mortgage broker, was very, very common for them to raise it by 100 basis points or lower it by 100 basis points. 1/4 was nothing. Nobody. The fact that an economy can't handle that is really rather scary. You know why they can't handle that? Because we have so much debt. Mm-hmm. A quarter of our 25 basis points would increase our what do you call it, debt servicing of the debt would increase by trillions of dollars because we have so much debt out there. Mm-hmm. So it would probably plunge the economy. So
I mean, think of it this way, folks. Your own income. Let's say that you lost 1/4% of your income annually. What would that be? Not a lot. You can survive that, no problem. But you won't notice it.
But it tells you how much debt we have. You know, what if they increase your credit card by 1/4%? You could handle that, right? Yeah, I mean,
even your mortgage.
Yeah, 1/4% when you have a low principal amount doesn't add much to it. However, when you have $18 trillion worth of T-bills out there,
and they want to raise the debt limit. That's the big thing. We got it. That's what it was. Obama's there. If we don't raise the debt limit, we're gonna people are gonna lose faith in the full credit and faith of the United States government. Well, they have already.
And do you remember this, Scott? Years ago, people would say, Chinese are really buying a lot of our debt. What happens when they quit buying it and they want to, they start dumping treasuries? What's going to happen? Well, guess what, folks? They're doing that right now. I think in the month of August, they dumped $250 billion worth of our treasuries. And somebody had to buy that. And I believe it was, someone said it was the Belgians. It wasn't. It was the Fed. Mm-hmm. And basically, how do they buy that up? They monetize the debt. They print more money. So you see this is,
and it drops the value of the dollar even more.
This is and when people start dumping treasuries, all those dollars start coming back home to roost.
Mm-hmm. And each one becomes worth less and less.
That's called hyperinflation.
Yep.
So these are things that you're not going to get on Fox Business News or MSNBC or whatever. You'd be better served to go on to, there's plenty of sources out there. There's Jim Willey. He has a website called the Golden Jackass. He's a gold and silver guy who tells you the truth. Peter Schiff, he's another one.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of him.
Paul Craig Roberts. Mm-hmm. He was in the Reagan administration. He was David Stockman's assistant.
David Stockman.
Gerald Celente. He does trends. He's a trends expert. And I know you think Alex Jones is a nutcase. Sometimes he looks like he's about ready to fall off the edge. I get it. However, he has some very, very good people on his show.
Yep.
Stuff you're not going to hear anywhere.
And like we've been saying, folks, buy precious metals. Because right now, silver's the way to go right now if you don't if you don't have a lot of money.
And you better hop on that because I've been following this. There's not going to be any silver around here pretty soon because people are buying it up. I have a buddy of mine I play golf with who's thank the Lord he's been listening to me silent. He's one of those guys who doesn't say a whole lot but he listens, and he and his brother are starting to buy up silver.
Think about this way, folks. It's going for about $14.50 an ounce right now, as of the other day when I went and picked some up.
Well, that was spot, though, wasn't it? Wasn't it $2? Spot plus $2. You bought it for $14?
No. I bought it for $16, but I mean it was before the $2 that they had on
spot.
top of it.
14. Yeah. It's called spot.
Oh, okay. So think of it this way: if you were to buy 100 ounces of that, it would cost you $1,450. But the prediction, Kevin has told me that some of these experts say that if everything the bottom drops out, it's overnight going to go up to about $750 an ounce.
It could go anywhere. It's hard to know. But
think about it this way.
Here's the deal right now. It costs over $20 for them to pull it out of the ground, yet spot is $14. Something doesn't add up. That what's happening is being manipulated. COMEX is again the federal something like the Federal Reserve. That governs precious metals. That basically what's happened is they've sold more paper metals. In other words, people who don't take possession of it than there is silver and gold.
So there's two things you should keep in your safe. You should keep precious metals. The other thing is cash, but for a different reason. You remember what happened over in Greece?
Yep.
The banking system broke down, and people they were only able to withdraw like $60 at a time.
So getting back to the gold and silver, here's another thing. Silver is so drastically undervalued. Silver is pulled out of the ground at 10 times the rate that gold is. Therefore, gold is 10 times more rare. Therefore, the price should be reflective of that. It should be a 10-to-1 ratio. Gold should be valued at 10 times that of silver. But right now it's valued at 74 times that of silver. Mm-hmm. So eventually, that's another thing the Chinese and the Russians are trying to – they're trying to get some reality in the precious metals market, because what we're seeing right here is total manipulation. The West is totally manipulating the whole financial system. It's crazy. But eventually, it's all going to hopefully come to equilibrium. And you could see – I've heard various projections as to what things are going to be worth. But suffice it to say that buying it today at $16 an ounce, buying a silver round, is a bargain.
Yeah, exactly. I bought 5 ounces the other day. It cost me like $80 with their charge on top of that.
For every tragedy, there's an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by tragedy, I'm talking economic tragedy. Mm-hmm. There's an opportunity, and there will be in this collapse as well. And I believe it's going to be in the precious metals. And this is how people. I don't know if you know this, Scott, but during the Depression, people actually got wealthy off. During the Depression. There's always people who make money during times of economic downturn because they have foresight and they're paying attention. That's why I always sign off this show with "pay attention."
Yep,
people just aren't paying attention.
I'm trying to find the spot price right now because the place we go to, they don't have it on their website right now.
You ought to put that in your favorite, the coin gallery.
It's not there. It usually is. It's right at the bottom of the page. Usually, it's not there.
Oh, I have mine right on my favorites.
I don't know why.
I think Silver Eagles the other day were going for just under 20. I can get Canadian maple leaves for about 18. Up at this place up by here, up by you, Scott.
Oh, down. Okay. The gold ask price is $1,140.14. Silver ask is $15.34.
Yeah, that's a spot. That's spot.
Yeah.
So now, add $2. But the thing is right now spot the premiums are going up. Like where we go, they only put a $2 premium per ounce. Some places are going as high as $5. So that $14 is really costing you closer to $20.
So basically, right now, gold is over 74 times the price of silver right now,
and that's totally wrong. And the thing about silver is used in technology. Mm-hmm. Everything has silver.
Gold is too.
Silver is used vastly more.
And the reason why is because they conduct electricity better and faster than copper in small devices. And speaking of silver, I bought, it looks like a little roll of dimes. Remember when you used to get rolls of dimes? I don't know if people roll their money at all anymore. But and what they were,
it was a roll. I think I paid just under $100 for it, and they looked like silver dimes, but they were like miniature silver eagles, and each one of them was 1/10 of an ounce. And I don't know if you folks know this, but in the Roman days, the average Roman worker, that included soldiers and not just, some poor guy on the street, but your average worker was paid about 1/10 of an ounce of silver a day. And why I bought it was because if we eventually found ourselves in a system where, gold and silver were being exchanged. I don't know if that'll ever happen. Depends on who you talk to. That an ounce, an ounce coin that we have would be valued at. Let's put it this way: you couldn't go buy a loaf of bread with it because it'd be, you'd be buying a loaf of bread with a $700 coin. But if you buy them by the 1/10 of an ounce, now that's easily barterable. Mm-hmm. And the same concept is being sold on the gold side by companies like Carat Bar, who's out of Frankfurt, Germany. And what they do is they sell these little credit cards with grams, gold grams, 1 gram of gold embedded in the credit card. And that is sold as, for barter. So if there's ever a situation where gold and silver are the mediums of exchange, a gram of gold I think is $60-something. They sell them.
They had it at the.
They sell them in 1 gram, 2.5 grams, and 5 gram cards, and those are nice. Those are nice things to have.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The place we go to, they've got 22 karat gold is $26.87 per gram.
How much?
$26.87, $26.87 per gram.
For a gram of gold?
For a gram of gold, for 22 karat.
That's it, huh?
Yeah, and then it goes down from there. You can get 8 karat for $9.11.
Now, what do they sell them in? Like nuggets? What are they?
That's their market price for gold. It doesn't say. Don't know. Not sure. I can look real quick though, but I'm not really sure.
Huh.
Yep. Might be something to consider too. At that price.
Yeah, I need to start looking at. Oh, my father-in-law years ago, before he died, he had the whole family meet at this restaurant, and he passed us out each one of us. It was a little blue, velour or velvet sack, and in the sack was a 10-ounce bar of silver, 9.999% pure. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I always thought it was kind of cool, and he thought it was a really big deal because he's from the World War II generation, and mm-hmm. he's kind of old and kind of losing it. But then I got home that day, later that night, and found out that silver was selling for $2 or $3 an ounce, and that $10 and that 10 gram bar was only worth $20 or $30. And so I lost. He gave one to me and one to my then wife, and I thought I had stored it, but it turns out my ex has it, and now it's
how big is it?
10 ounces, a 10-ounce bar.
That's a decent size.
Yeah. So that's worth
half an ounce.
That's worth
or 10 ounce. I mean, yeah.
That's depending. Right now, it's worth $150, $160. But 10 years ago, it was worth $20 or $30. I gotta start hammering her on that. Hey, sweetie, can I have that 10?
Well, yeah, she's the one person that doesn't believe the stuff that you're saying about the economy.
No, she might just give it to me. Just say, here, have mine too. Okay.
Yeah. Because they are on good terms, so it wouldn't be an argument.
No, if she didn't, okay. But I got it. My birthday's coming up next week, and maybe if she asked me, hey, what do you want for birthday? Hey, baby, how that 10-ounce bar of silver. Can you dig that up? That'd be a perfect. That'd be a perfect.
You better hope she's not listening, or you better hope that she doesn't go to the YouTube and listen to it once it's posted.
No, she doesn't listen to this. That's just more of Kevin's crazy rants.
Yep.
So yeah. But anyway, the silver is something. If you're going to get into it, you better get into it.
Yep. I've been doing it for. Well, next month it'll be a year since I started.
Well, yeah, don't tell people what you got, but
no.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're just all you need to do is, if you can afford an extra $100 a month, and get you 5 ounces.
What I would suggest is
that's 60 ounces in a year you can save up.
What I suggest is if you can do $100 a payday, buy $100 worth of silver, put another 100, and you're safe.
Well, I would be buying food too.
And food, yeah.
I was sitting next to a guy, my brother and I were a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know, we were just talking about always having water and some food. And guy goes, yeah, I always keep some water. I usually keep a case of water. And I looked at him and I said, I probably got 30 or 40. He
would last you a week, maybe.
And he looked at me, he said, what are you, OCD? I'm going, no, I'm just prepared. On top of that, I probably got containers that I can hold up to 100 gallons. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even a real prepper. The real preppers, those guys are, yeah. I mean, they've got whole water tanks.
Watch a show that was on National Geographic Channel called, you can get it on Netflix, Doomsday Preppers.
Okay, listen to this, Scott. Even if the worst doesn't happen and only inflation kicks in, mm-hmm. If you've got food, you've bought that at a cheaper price than you can yep. get it now. That's a hedge on inflation. So every which way, you can call me a weirdo, you can call me a prepper, you can call me paranoid, you can call me whatever. I don't care. I can always eat that stuff. Mm-hmm. I can always drink the water. I can always, and I could, if I realize the apocalypse isn't coming, I can always take that silver back down, and I won't get as much for it as I paid for it.
Actually, you might get more because the value of the dollar is going to be down, so it'll cost more dollars to buy it back.
So the thing is, I can, none of this is breaking me. I'm not like Kurt Schilling. He just invested his whole life savings and lost it in this business. It's not the case with me. We're doing $100 here, $100 there.
I was talking to someone a while back, and they're not totally convinced about anything. They don't think that things are going to collapse to the degree that we talk about. And I said, what you need to do is you need to get precious metals, food, water, guns, and ammo. And he says, well, yeah, okay. He says, but you look at it this way. He says, even if things don't go to hell in a handbasket, you still have precious metals, food, water, guns, and ammo.
They all have value.
Yes.
Well, and then my daughter always calls me, hey, Dad, you got a can of mushroom soup? Yeah, it's in my bunker. Hold on.
His bunker's a spare room.
Yeah, it's full. You can't walk in there, man. It's full.
Yeah, I'm not quite to the extent that he's at. I got to make a list of what I have to get.
And again, folks, it's really simple. It's not going to break you. It's a matter of when you go to the grocery store, pick up a couple extra cans of soup.
Especially if they're on sale.
Pick up a can of condensed milk. Pick up, can of tuna. I've probably got 50, 60 cans of tuna.
Go to Walmart. You can pick up a brick of 12 packages of Top Ramen for under $2.
Oh, I've got a bunch of those. I've got cases of that stuff. You could.
It's not expensive stuff.
That stuff will keep you alive. Mm-hmm. And you can throw that in a backpack too.
You get sick of it.
Well, it's still nourishment. It's something, and and that stuff you can get it with shrimp. You can get it with chicken, beef.
Pick up some energy bars to throw in your pack too.
I do that too.
Cliff bars are great.
All you need in emergency is calories. Mm-hmm. That's what you need, and water. And again, it ain't going to break you, man. I mean, like I said, maybe an extra $100. Take it out of when you get your paycheck. I know some of you are a little tighter. It's tighter than that, but I don't even give it a thought. I don't think about that $100. I just take it and I just, I'll either buy silver with it, I'll buy food, or I'll buy ammo.
The mindset I've developed is I can't wait till next payday so I can buy more.
Oh yeah, me too. It actually becomes kind of like a hobby.
It's kind of like my mortgage payment. You know, everyone hates paying bills, but the one that I don't mind paying so much is my mortgage.
Yeah, and furthermore, I've got 3 kids. I've got almost 3 grandkids. I got another grandkid on the way. And my family doesn't think about these things. So
mom does to a certain extent.
Mom does, yeah. What does it say in the Bible? A man that doesn't take care of his family is basically worthless.
I'm not sure, but you're basically the head of the house, even though they're off on doing their own thing. You got to take care of. I mean, there's some responsibility for me too, because I'm not their father, but in God's eyes, I'm looked at. Our father is basically looked at as the head of the Mitchell family. Okay, I'm next in line than you, but you have more of a responsibility because you got kids. I mean, that's the way God looks at it.
Well, I realize that they're young. They've got their lives that they've got to get through every day, and they don't think of that stuff. I kind of view myself as kind of like the Noah.
What was that line from
Noah building the ark, What
was that line from Animal House? Dean Wormer, I forget who he was talking to. He goes, "Drunk and stupid is no way to go through life, son."
Pretty much. But I kind of see myself in the same role as Noah. Everyone was laughing at him, and no one's paying attention to him until that day when it started raining.
We're talking about the real Noah, not Russell Crowe. In case you didn't know, he was a real person.
Yeah, so there's only a couple people that I talk to about this stuff. Not only the prep, just the financial markets. There's just a handful, because you talk to the average person,
their eyes roll.
They don't even know what to make of it. Just that guy you and I were talking to the other day, when I told him how many cases of water I had, he just looked at me like, you could tell what was going through his mind. Oh, one of those.
That's when we're having lunch dinner before the Van Halen concert.
No, it was prior. It was before that. That was weeks ago. It's a guy I know. He sings in a rock band. I thought he was a little bit more up.
I know who you mean. Okay.
Yeah, remember when I said all the water I got?
Yeah, I know who you mean.
Hey, this is another thing. You can get for $20 at Amazon. You can get a water storage tank that you can put. It's plastic. It's polyurethane or ethylene, one of the two. Yeah. And you can stick it in your tub, and you can fill it up, and it'll hold 100 gallons.
Called a water bob.
It'll hold 100 gallons of water.
Yeah, and 100 gallons will last quite a while.
Depends on how many people you have.
Yeah.
I've got enough storage where I got a capability of storing a couple 100 gallons. Plus, I got a pool in my backyard. It's kind of green right now because my filter's not working too well, and my dog keeps swimming in it. But I also have filters. I've got a really cool filter that I used that I found out about when my son and I were hiking the Grand Canyon a couple of years ago. My son got lost and he got separated, and I had to go find him. And it was in June. It was over 100 degrees out there. And by the time I found him, we were both out of water, and we were over 5 miles of rugged terrain back to camp. And we were totally out of water and dehydrated. And we ran into this little hippie chick. She was from San Francisco. Never forget it. And the water, we were getting ready to drink the water out of the. It's Havasupai. It's the water system that sources that feeds into the waterfall system of Havasupai Falls. Don't know if we would have gotten sick from it, but eventually we would have drank it. But anyway, we ran into her, and she had one of these pump filters, and you just put it in your put it over your canteen, put the hose in the water, and it's just like a pump, almost like a well pump.
Mm-hmm. And it filters it too.
And it filters it, and it tastes wonderful. And she filled up all of our canteens and basically saved us. We probably would have gotten back to camp, but anyway, I got one of those. That's about $100 at Wright, or I got that at Cabela's, I believe, for $100. I mean, $100 here and $100 there. I got stuff that I could bug out and and live for a while if I had to.
I'm not quite there myself yet, but I'm kind of behind. I got on it a little bit later than he did.
I've got Army experience. I served in the Army, so I know what it takes to survive.
I mean, there's basic stuff you need. You need knives, pocket knife. You need, depending on where you're at.
A shelter half, which is basically a tarp.
Right.
To protect you from...
Sleeping bag.
Listen, when I was in the field in Germany back in the 1980s, it'd be out there snowing and, wind howling, and, 20 degrees, maybe down into the teens or whatever. And all I slept with was a shelter half and a sleeping bag and a cot.
It's like we were in Boy Scouts and we camped out in the snow a few times. You can do it. When we were up at Payson that time, it was like in the 30s and 20s at night.
The main thing you do is you keep dry.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Well, I was watching a show I watched on Discovery called Mountain Men. And it's about these guys that literally live off the land in various parts of the country. And one of them, he's a trapper in Alaska. And he was going across the lake. There was an early thaw going on, and he thought he'd make it. And at the last minute, he was getting out to pull his snowmobile up to the bank, and he got it up there, but he fell in on one of his legs. And you would think, okay, one leg is wet. No. You got to get warm as quickly as possible. So he built a fire and basically waited until his clothing was dried out. Just one pant leg.
I saw that.
Yeah,
even
it's a good show to watch.
Even here in the desert, there's a lot of food in the desert. At least the Sonoran Desert there is. The Sahara there's not. But the Sonoran Desert, I could survive just fine out there. There's dove, there's quail, there's rabbit, there's snakes, there's
groundhog,
there's javelina. There's the cactus you can get water out of.
And if you're up in northern Arizona, you can fish. You can fish down here, too. There's lakes. The little known fact about Arizona, folks, there are more registered boats in Arizona than any other state.
Oh, yeah, we've got a lot of water.
We got more water here than you think. It's not all desert
lakes.
here.
It's fake lakes, but...
Still, it's not all desert.
But, survival is it can be difficult if you're not used to it.
You're not going to be in a 5-star resort. Let's put it that way, folks. You have to rough it.
But I know this talk scares people. Financial collapse and buying silver and buying food and so forth. It doesn't change anything.
Reality is scary.
If it sounds scary, it doesn't change anything. It is scary.
Yeah.
But and again. This isn't a matter of if. This is when. This is when. You saw Janet Yellen the other day get a little sick on stage. You can't tell me that she's not feeling a little pressure.
Nope.
Everybody I listen to and I talk to outside of Barack Hussein Obama is saying this is going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. And it's always hard to put a timetable on it, but trust me, something's going to happen. And again, you do your own research. Don't take it from me. Mr. Doomsday, the sky is falling. I got a friend who's got his head so far stuck in the sand, and he's so heavily invested in this world that he can't even contemplate anything like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, good buddy of mine. I served with.
I was saying to someone else.
I love them dearly. Oh, I got a couple of them. Yeah. They're just so they've got their 401ks, all their money, everything, and they're doing real well in this paper world. But it's not real, man.
Nope. Nope. It isn't.
So we got
about a minute.
Oh, we got the Cardinals could go 4-0 tomorrow.
Let's hope. And we got Mike Upati's back.
Yep.
Can you use a 330-pound, 6'6"?
Now there's bad blood between the Cardinals and the Rams.
And the cool thing about Upati is he came over from the Niners. He's played them played them over the years, his whole career, as often as the Cardinals have. So he knows what to expect.
The Rams are known as being somewhat dirty. They knocked Carson Palmer out last year.
Yeah. Yep.
And Carson Palmer's having a good year. We don't have him. We don't go anywhere.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. He's got to be protected. That's so far so good, but they haven't faced a defensive line like them.
we forgot to talk about the 11-year-old transgender kid that
we can hold off.
Mothers are giving hormones to.
He'll keep.
So,
all right, folks, that's wrapping up another show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We don't mean to scare you, but actually, I do.
Hey, there's worse shows than this for scaring people. Trust me.
I think that I honestly think that some people need to be scared before they're going to listen.
And as always, pay attention. You have eyes to see and ears to hear.
Yep. What the heck? This is not working the way I want it to. Okay. We'll see you next week, folks. Have a good week.
Adios.